Hey everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my guide for Vertical Sorcerer. Sorcerer received a buff in the most recent patch, gaining AP at the 4 trait breakpoint, 6 trait, and 8 trait. At 8 trait, it's 25 more AP, which is pretty significant. This is, with all the base AP you have, this is about 12% more damage for unitemized units, which is quite a lot. In general, when we say 10% is already like a very big buff. So this is basically 12% damage on all your sorcerers at 8 piece. So it's pretty impactful. Of course, you will need an emblem to get 8, as there are only 7 sorcerers in the game. When recording this video, uh, the patch has only been out for a couple days, so I'm not super confident on a lot of the optimizations, but ideally, you'll opener with Watcher and Sorcerer Frontline. This is because this will transition naturally as Vladimir is one of each. If you have Swain, Darius, and Swain, will give you a nice synergy here with Watcher. You don't have to open with this front line, but it's kind of ideal because of Vladimir and Swain. Early game, you'll want to carry Lux, but as you get later into the game, you would much prefer to keep Zyra if you're choosing between the two. Lux has a really impactful spell. Just she has the most like raw power, but late game Zyra's crowd control is a lot more valuable, especially with some melee carries coming on the rise, like Echo receiving buffs. People playing just like ambushers. If you're able to stun like a 2-star Echo with items or like a Smeech 3 or something like that, even one time, that's going to be more value than the Lux will provide the entire fight. Again, this comp is a lot better with Sorcerer plus one. However, it does seem playable without it. Um, I would generally prefer to play it with plus one, but again, without plus one, either way, you'll want to use Frontline Swain because you don't have a lot of frontliners in this comp. Let's just go ahead and put all the sorcerers on the board so we can see them. Because you're playing Nami, you won't need to play any other emissaries. Uh, LeBlanc and Vladimir are 2 trait with Black Rose, so a lot of times you're going to play Elise, who also gives Form Swapper to Swain. So if you have plus one, this is going to be your ideal level 8 board. A lot of times you're not going to have LeBlanc, so you can drop 2 sorcerers for some other units. If you have Jace, this could be Form Swappers. It could be like Bruiser plus another Black Rose unit. There's a few different options you have, but generally going up in Black Rose is never too bad of an idea because you have a lot of backline damage with this comp, so you just need more frontline. So on level 9, you can just add in another Black Rose unit pretty easily. Between Morgana and Cassio, Morgana is actually better because she has a utility effect, whereas Cassio only does damage, which you don't really need another unit who just does damage um, because of course all your sorcerers are going to do a lot of damage. Morgana will reduce shielding, which is more effective damage in the late game than a Cassio would provide. If you have the emblem, it's really good on Elise. Whenever she ults, she'll heal herself for a really significant portion of her health. And again, you'll want both these form swappers in front. Otherwise, you just have like way too many packliners if you do something like this. Itemization wise, you'll usually itemize Swain as your main tank. And again, early game, you'll usually do Lux, and later, you'll eventually want to move to Zoe. Zyra did receive some buffs this patch, but Lux is still better. And in the late game, LeBlanc received some buffs as well, so you can actually itemize LeBlanc 1 as your secondary carry after Zoe 2. If you have Zoe 1, then Nami 2 is better. So a lot of times, before you have Zoe, you're going to be itemizing Nami in the mid game. Shojin is going to be the best item on any of these units. Nasher is also going to be really good. Jewel Gauntlet is a little bit less value than usual because a lot of the value of this item comes from the high amount of AP it gives you. It gives you like 35 AP compared to, let's just say, like an item like Guardbreaker, which only gives 10 AP, but instead gives you attack speed, which is more. It gives you attack speed and damage amp, which because so much of the item budget in Jewel Gauntlet is the AP, which you don't really need that much more AP because Sorcerer already gives you so much. You really want to take advantage of multiplicative scaling and use items that give you like attack speed and damage amps, such as Guardbreaker. Giant Slayer as well is another option. But yeah, Jewel Gauntlet is definitely not bad, but you just don't get as much value from the AP portion, which again is a huge part of the power budget of that item. Another reason Jewel Gauntlet is not quite as good as Guardbreaker is the high AP that you get from Sork. You're investing your entire board into this 8 or 6 sorcerer trait that basically makes your abilities do a ton of damage. So what'll happen a lot of the times is you'll deal overkill damage. Basically if Zoe ults on a unit, unless that ult is dealing the exact amount of HP it has to kill that unit perfectly, you're gonna have some overkill wasted damage. And basically, the more AP or like crit you have that, the more likely you are to have overkill and wasted damage. Overkill damage is actually generally a good thing in a lot of comps, but the thing is with 8 Stork, you just have too much. The reason overkill damage is generally good is because you can burst down units before they have a chance to use their ultimates. But in 8 Storks, you kind of have too much where, I mean, if you just think about, like, let's say a unit has 2,000 HP and you have a unit that does 10,000 damage. Obviously, this is unrealistic, but you're just wasting most of that damage. Um, so that's kind of an extreme case that isn't applicable here, obviously, but the same concept kind of applies. Um, yeah, so again, with 6 Sork, we can drop Lux. Zyra has a crowd control in the late game. Um, we might not have a block yet, right? So this might be our board. These are 7 units, so maybe we'll have like one more another Black Rose unit like Cassio, for example. So we could play like this board on level 8 if we have Sorcerer +1 and we haven't found LeBlanc. If we don't have Sorcerer +1, then we'll usually just play this board on level 8. That's gonna wrap it up for this video on Sorcerers. If you have any questions, let me know in the Discord, and thanks for watching.